All right. Good morning, traders. Can you hear me okay out there? Do a quick sound check before we get started here. Thanks, Danny, Dave. Check, check. I love it. Henry. Well, great. Great to be with you this beautiful Monday morning. And market is a little bit wonky this morning. A lot of outside ranges. It breaks down, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of buyers come in and prop it back up, and then it breaks out to the upside, and then a bunch of sellers come in and push it down. So it's a little bit difficult trading this morning. So let's start out. We'll take a look at the big picture and then kind of work down into the smaller time frames. Just make sure that we get our bearings around us and make sure that we're not missing any big significant developments on any of the other time frames. So we'll start out over here. Let's change that to a daily chart. And I apologize. I have on a little tiny little Surface Pro this morning, and I don't have the ability to keep the chat open while I'm trading. And the video doesn't work on this thing, so I got to find a better solution. Okay, so here we are on the daily chart for the Euro USD. Just to go back a few weeks. Just to go back a few weeks, we were in a pretty big consolidation back over here, and we had a couple of whipsaws where the market broke down and then broke up and then had a pretty strong rally through for almost 2 weeks. Pulled back, kind of got stuck in that sideways consolidation again, broke up, and we are right back down. If you can kind of see that, let's see here. We're kind of right back down on the top of that consolidation. So this has really been a significant point of influence in the market. So quite really a great influence on that market. So but we're kind of, the market's trying to decide if it wants to bounce off that. So let's drop over to a 1 hour chart and let's see how it looks on that 1 hour chart. So we'll drop down. But what I really want to look at is, what does price action look down here on these lows? So on the low of the 1 hour chart. So here we are on the low in the 1 hour chart. Big sell off last week, a little bit of a rally, consolidation, tries to break up, comes back down, hits the bottom of the consolidation, and right now just within this morning, this trading session, we started to see a little bit of a break to the high side. But nothing real significant, no conviction like we saw back over in here and on any of the other breakouts. This is just one of those really slow breaks to the upside that you're never quite sure whether it's going to continue or not. So there's a type, most breakouts, it's kind of interesting. Most breakouts, you get that big strong move, and then you get those 2 to 3 candles that follow through. But occasionally what you'll see is a breakout where it's very, very, very small, and then the next candle is a very small, and then the next candle gets a little bit bigger, and then the next candle gets a little bit bigger, and then the next one gets a little bit bigger. It's just like it's slowly building momentum. And I don't know if that's what this is going to turn into on the hour chart, but it's a pretty weak breakout. And so As we're trading this morning, we're going to keep a close eye on the top of that breakout. So the very top of that, so 107,947. And we're going to see if the market can stage a little bit of a higher high from there. So now let's drop down to the 1 hour, 1 minute chart. Sorry. And the 5 minute chart. And we'll throw that, we'll 107,947, somewhere right in there. And that's going to be that big important point today. So if we break up above that and we get some momentum follow through, then what that means is if we go back to that hour chart, then we've got follow through on the breakout. So that'll be a key point in the trading session today. All right. In the meantime, we've got a little base pattern here. We've got descending pivot highs. And so we're coming into a little bit of a pennant pattern. This is usually a follow or a continuation pattern. So let's go ahead and trade the long side right in here. Let's start to build a little. We'll trade the long side all the way down. Down through that level. So we're going to start building a long position through here. And we'll continue to build down to that long position all the way down through here. Once it crosses down below here, the effectiveness of the pattern starts to deteriorate. And other than that, we're off to the races here this morning. So we'll start to watch how this works out. Let's see if we can pick up little penny here, penny there. See if we can add them up. Right on that breakout point on that 5 minute chart. This is a key moment. If this breaks to the upside, then that triggers that continuation pattern. And we should be sitting up on the top of that real soon. It'll be a pretty strong pattern, or could be a pretty strong break if it breaks. I'm going to anticipate it just a little bit. It's kind of showing a little bit of strength. Feel that impulse of money coming in. That impulse of money is going to try and break that trend, break these little highs in here. So we're going to align ourselves with that. So far it's holding, as long as it can hold in that upper range, you'll see more attempts to break through. If it doesn't, I'll tell you when they kind of leave, you'll feel it. You'll feel a change in the market if they don't break this. So far, still good, still hanging in there. Really good chance it's going to break. There's the attempt. Now we need to see that follow through. There's a little bit more follow through. Keep going. And you can see that break over there on that 5 minute chart. So now the most likely place for this to kind of move is clear up to the top. So if you like those longer term setups, this is one where you might split your profit targets. Look for market to come up and test the highs. May not go straight there. You may have to suffer a couple of ups and downs on its way, but as long as this closes up here, then the most likely scenario is that we're going to test those highs. Not a lot of conviction behind the break. So that's a sign, right? We've got to read that into our analysis. Usually on a break like that, you got a lot of follow through. We're not seeing the follow through. At the same time, we're not seeing it pull back, especially far. So it's holding in the upper ranges, which is a good thing. don't get too heavy on these breakout trades, especially given the nature of the market today, where you get the breakout and then it doesn't follow through. Kind of weakening up here. Going to come back and test. So this is okay as long as it comes back and just tests. That's fine. No worries. Either there or even right there. So pull back into that line is fine. Pull back into that line, still fine. A break of this really starts to weaken and break down the pattern. Pattern's starting to break down just a little bit. 30 seconds left, so a lot of time for either the market to stage a little rally. Okay, down to the 3-second mark and break right in the last few seconds. So not good for this position. So now what that's done is it puts it, the pattern is now breaking down, right? So there's 2 minutes left on that 5-minute chart. So technically we could see a wick down here and come back up. So it's not done yet. Yeah, although it's starting to weaken up. It's not showing a lot of strength. But we'll continue to hold on to the trade. We'll work it. But this is not a good sign. Not a good development. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking for a little bounce and try and make a little bit of money on a bounce. We got 2 minutes to get that bounce. So that's a lot of time, a lot of time for the buyers to make a move. And they're not taking the bait. So my next setup is going to be down on the base down here. But because of this is a failed continuation pattern, that sets up a reversal pattern. So not a lot of hope, but all I need is a good bounce. And so I'm gonna take I'll build a really strong position, take a couple of losses off the books. In fact, I might take them right now. A couple of those losses. And then I'll reallocate those trades back down on the lows. So when the pattern failed, what's happening inside my brain right now is that I'm like, okay, we have a failed pattern, means it opens up the door for the movement the other side. What I've got to do is I got to figure out how to break even on the trade if I can. And if I can't, how to mitigate losses. So we come down here, and I'm going to put one big stack on. I'm at about 5 positions, so I'm going to go up to probably 10 and just look for a quick bounce. By the way, most times, probably 7 out of 10 times when you get this pattern, things will actually work out for you. So don't disregard the pattern. That was a really good pattern and a really good setup. It's just that this is one of those few times when it didn't work out. So I fear I fear sometimes, in a pattern or a setup doesn't work out, that you lose a little bit of confidence in it. But don't lose confidence in it, because you've got that edge on a pattern like that and you want to take advantage of it. Really, the market should run up and test that, one more time, especially on a beautiful little setup like that. So don't lose the faith. Okay, so I'm about 9. Most of those are right in here. So I'm not going to be perfectly spot on this. So it's going to have to rise just a little bit further than I would anticipate it being able to. We did pick up a little bit on that trade. We picked up a couple of profit targets on that bottom. And then we'll set up more. Here, it's going to come down right in here. We're in that support area. A lot of wicks underneath. So and now we're in wick territory. And this is where I'll build. Looking for that quick wick. We have 2.5 minutes on that 5-minute chart for it to form a wick. And that's not good. If it breaks below the previous wick, then that opens up the run to the downside. And not good. So now we're in the first break to the downside. And now I'm going to have to do a bunch of fixing on this trade. So I'm going to go back and see where my next good opportunity is for a bounce. Probably right where we're at right here. I'm going to build. My targets are a little high. I prefer those targets to be a little lower. But if we're going to get a wick or a whipsaw, or right here is a great place for it. And I want to be about 50% on that candle. And any kind of profit now, I'm going to have to start to take off the losses. So anything that I make is going to just pay for reducing position size, getting out of the losses, anything. Looking for that, see how that 50% of that candle is such a big psychological point. So there we go. Peel off losses. To do this, I'm going to anchor right around still peel off losses. I think we started out at about 2.7% ROI. So I'm going to try and hold it right about that 2.7% ROI. And I'm just peeling off. So important that I lighten up positions. And we've lightened up significantly. So now we're back into a position size that's manageable. And then I'm going to try and find, if we get a little rally, where's a really good high probability point. And I'm going to anchor off the tops of these bodies right in here as sort of the best case scenario. If we can rally up to that point, that's a pretty good spot. And it looks like we might pull that off. There we go. This is what I'm saying about the markets this morning, is that we got breakdowns, but no follow through. Breakups. We got breakups, no follow through. Breakdowns, no follow through. So it makes it for a really tough market to trade, sadly. And in fact, if it was just me trading all by my lonesome, I probably wouldn't put up with this very long. You just spend a lot of time. If you just end up spending a lot of time chasing markets, rebalancing, you're lucky if you can pull off a little bit of a return. You can get in trouble really fast in a market like this, really quickly. Okay, so now technically, my model, the way that I tend to trade, is whenever you get that indication that sellers are that sellers are in control, I tend to go with the sell side now. So back over here, I was with the buy side all the way through that. Now I'm on the sell side because sellers are now in control until we break the next previous pivot. So I'll maintain my bearish. I maintain my bearish positions all the way through to the top of that, to that top in there. Man, if this gives me another outside range, guys, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Probably lose money again. And on a day like today, it just seems silly, right? You maintain your bearish position because it's rallying so hard. But 9 days out of 10, this keeps you safe. And so I just keep doing it, even though today is a really odd day. It's a great place for a turn. That's why I'm building the short position. There's a little bit of a turn. I'm just going to lighten up. I don't want to sit on those trades. I made a little bit of money on that, not a whole lot, but I'll drop some of these. Instead of building a position, a bigger position, I'll drop these, split the deck. Split the deck, let the market, make the market force the market into a deeper pullback before you get out of them. We made a little bit of money, so we can, if it does pop up, we've got a little bit to work with. But this way, we don't have to position, go with bigger position sizes. We'll maintain a smaller position size. Typically on a flag, big two says, hey, there's a flag on the 5-minute chart. That breakdown kind of formed this little flag look. The pennant's now turned into a flag, and you can kind of see that there. The challenge that I have with that, number one, is the nature of the market today. We've already failed with the pennant pattern, but even bigger than that is you've got one down, one up, a second down. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6. So typically that's too many points for a true flag. You want to see the market break on this one right here. That's your sweet spot. You want the market to break there. You don't want it to come down and form another leg that starts to take away the effectiveness of the pattern. So to truly be a technically true continuation pattern, it should have broken there. That's the sweet spot. To break here can still happen, but it's the effectiveness starts to wear away. And it'll probably, knowing today, it'll probably do that, because today is one of those days where patterns aren't holding, right? So see if I can pick up a little bit of income off the bottom of this little support. Just a little bit, not a lot. There's a little bit of income. And the break to the downside. And again, this is, rather than building positions, we're just going to reallocate targets to a really highly effective point. Might be a little too aggressive. I might want to pull those up just a tad. And man, another outside range. Broke to the high, broke to the low. Just outside range after outside range after outside range this morning. Really makes for difficult trading. Thank you, Hawaiian. Looking, got a Fed. Oh, ECB speech. So European. That ought to get the market moving. When is that speech? When is that supposed to take place? Is it 8:30 or 8:45 or 9 local time? So I didn't even notice. Oh, it's is it Bank of England? No, no, I'm not seeing that speech actually. Hmm. 8:40. That's such an odd time. There is literally nothing to do right now. It's such a there's no indication, no direction. Tails on top, tails on bottom, moving sideways. I'm just going to gear up. I'm gearing up for just even a whipsaw and a test of these lows on that 5-minute chart. And rather than building into a bigger position, I'm just using whatever I can on the. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of direction in the market right now. And in a world where the Fed decisions are everything, like that's the type of market we're in right now, where the Fed decisions mean everything to the market. Whenever you don't have clear, concise, what's the Fed looking at? What are their interests? We don't, when you don't have that clarity, yeah, you tend to get choppy markets like this. And usually choppy markets aren't bad, but the problem with this one is that we're going at any given minute, you could get a breakout, right? And so we're breaking out on both directions. We're breaking out to the high side, we're breaking out to the low side, but we're not getting any follow through on either. And that is what makes it really tough. And there we go. So I was hoping we would just get another test of these lows, which it did. It just came right down onto that, right down into that wick low area. And now I don't know what to do. I don't dare get into longs. I don't dare get into shorts. I just gotta wait, just gonna sit. So normally on this pattern where you've got a continuation pattern that's just breaking down, breaking down, breaking down, and you've got this you got a continuation pattern. You've got this low right here. then I would say normally I would expect that market to drop, but I don't dare do that today. But if I had to, if I was forced and my life depended on it, I would say, okay, I'm going to take to the downside here. And any other day, I'd have pretty good odds supporting that view. Just today, maybe not. Nice, Carl. I like that. The first branch of any decision tree is to do nothing. I think traders need to hear that. Well, honestly, I don't know. Short of some sort of a catalyst, we're just going to sit here for a minute. Got it? You have any questions? Inevitably, if I get into a trade right now, it's going to be, I'll end up fighting. There's no real easy trade here. Nev, good question. Whether we're going to be bringing back guest trader? Yes. There's some logistical challenges that we've kind of bumped into, and we were trying to work those out for the first of the year. Those didn't really work out. Just going to trying to figure out, I'm with COVID restrictions and all that kind of behind us, I'd like to get out more and come around to different cities and get back to guest trader the way that we originally intended it, to be out on the street with you. And so that's kind of what we're kind of in a holding pattern, trying to get back out and visit different areas and come to your neighborhood, so to speak. So yeah, I'd love to get out to the UK now. I think that'd be great. We just before COVID hit, we had an entire European tour planned. So we were going to hit Portugal, work up towards Belgium, and then end up over in the UK. But when COVID hit, that was the end of that. So to switch accounts, you just come up here and so Amanda, you just come up here and you switch accounts. Unfortunately, you can't run two trading accounts, two Alveo sessions at the same time. So you have to log into, you have to have two Alveo accounts in order to run two sessions at the same time. What that means is you have to have two different usernames and passwords. Otherwise, you can just change and switch back and forth between funded accounts. And then, of course, that'd be great, Lauren. And then, of course, so if you could see, I'm trading right here on this little Surface Pro, and then I've got my Mac, and I'm testing out a liquidity provider over on my Mac, and so I've got two accounts running that I'm trading simultaneously that way. If I wanted to, I could have Alveo on this machine, I could have Alveo on that machine, and I could switch back and forth and manage two accounts that way. But otherwise, I would have to switch between the accounts. Even Steve, even limit and pending orders aren't very good in a market like this because about the time they trigger is about the time the market reverses back. So it's a little, I'd be really leery about using pendings, especially in a market like this, because this is where you get the market, it breaks down, forms a lower low, and then the market rallies right back in. And so about the time you're getting your pendings, a pending is not like a market order share. It has to trip your pending price and then go in and fill your order. So it's a lot slower execution to use a pending order because you have to talk to the computer twice, right? Essentially. Yeah, the price has to trip the pending price and then it has to execute a market order. And so when you have a whippy market like this, that slower execution can sometimes create a problem. Plus, you don't get the follow through. All right, we should have hopefully a little bit of Fed speech volatility. But and see the character of the market has changed now, and this is also a nerve-wracking thing about a session like this is where you have good up and down movement, but then we're getting a grinding marching market. So that makes it a little bit more difficult because at any one of these points when we break, and you don't know which one because you get false break after false break after false break, but then you get a grinding market, that makes it super tough. Well, I think the lesson today is going to be don't trade if because I don't want to put any more trades in until I get a better feel for how the market's moving. And so I think we'll probably just wrap up for the day. If we're not getting any good volatility. The movements have to be, 2 pips is a lot to ask with the movements the way they are. It looks big, but it's not that big. And so I think that the takeaway is, know that old Kenny Rogers song, know when to walk away, know when to run. Today's a day you just kind of walk away. I don't know what else to do. I don't dare go short here. I don't dare go long here. Just kind of blah. And inevitably when I get into a position right now, it's just gonna be a grind to make any kind of money and a huge opportunity to be on the wrong side of it. So I'm just gonna watch it for a second more here, see if we get some better volatility because of that Fed that speech. We'll give it another minute. By the way, everyone from that psychology boot camp last week, man, good stuff and great people. It was really nice to. Psychology is one of those things that you just don't. Yeah, you never. It's so hard to like incorporate into your development process because it's kind of like it's not so cut and dry, right? It's a lot of like managing your emotions, learning patience, establishing, confidence in your strategies and everything. And it's really hard to, to feel like you've got a real concrete takeaway from it. But overall, it is like a huge part of your success in trading. And I think Kevin did a fantastic job, bringing that to light. So. Jerry, yeah, normally we just don't have the volatility today. So this market is fantastic. At first glance, you look at this market and it is beautiful for wobbling, but it's just too slow and there's no follow through. You don't have a real clear bias to align yourself with. So in that wobble, I really anchor in on the bias, where today you just don't have a bias and you don't have the big volatility. So it makes it a lot tougher to trade. But normally, if you just open it up, look at it, this looks great until you get into it. All right, traders, I think we're going to wrap it up. We'll come back and hopefully Thursday things will have been picked up a little bit better and good volatility. So look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you. Bye.